from one thing, no 10,000. Miyamoto Musashi. What do we mean by that? We mean that take and apply what works. And when it works across the board, use it across the board. When you learn charting techniques, attempt to apply them everywhere they will work. We see invariably, if we're looking at stock indexes or particular stocks, if we look at bonds, if we look at gold, if we look at Bitcoin, we see our charting techniques that chart fear and greed on a weekly, a 2-day, and a half-day time frame. We see that we can chart price movement on many of these charts accurately over and over and over again. So from one thing, no 10,000. Let's jump into these charts. Ding, 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 ding. Weekly vertical crossovers as we talked about yesterday on the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100. And you know what's beautiful? As we got to the end of the week, look at what gold is doing on the weekly chart. Amazing. We had the weekly vertical crossover last week. Not super happy about it, but the high throughout the course of that week, 169.25. What do we have happen this week? 169.94, and the price percent oscillator spiked up, derivative oscillator, primarily a good Friday. This was a great Friday, 1.31%. And again, candle's not as big as we would like, but a nice spike in price on the top. And again, the latest high that we've seen was this week, which is beautiful. Prior, 169.54. So yes, we did spike up and hit a higher high, which is beautiful. So again, the magic of the weekly vertical crossover does not always work. But again, people say, well, Tom, sort of what's the percentage we want it to work? 80 plus percent of the time. And then how do you cover for that 20% when it doesn't work? That is where you set your profit and loss bands. That's where you're aware of volatility. That's where you're like a hawk, keeping an eye twice a day on what's going on with that 2-day and what's going on with the weekly. You guys know that I don't like stop losses. I don't like the market maker knowing where he can stop me out. So what do? I set things and I pay attention. And again, I only trade when the getting's good. I'm not jumping into half-assed trades. If you're doing that, if you keep getting hammered, now again, could be a bad season in the market, but most of the time is you're making bad trades on things that nobody who knows what they're doing would jump into. That's a reason that we wait for these weekly vertical crossovers of the 2-day recrosses on proven charts. We wait for them to work. Now, let's jump into these charts, see where things are going. We saw the high last week was 459.56. What was the high this week on the S&P 500? 470.65. We had a weekly vertical crossover occur at the end of the week. We will see how things go. A lot of people are like, how high can this market go? Why does it keep going up after the corona crash that we saw happen? And then the market spikes up for many months, drops for a little while, up, drops, and then just inexorably continues to move up until lately when it pulled back and then it started off again. How high can it go? Well, let me tell you, if you're printing money backed by nothing, and you're the U.S. Congress and you're dedicated right now to even more spending with nothing to cover the shortfall, that is called, again, just money printing. Oh, they'll come up with beautiful terms for it, all sorts of terms of art, quantitative easing. That's printing money backed by nothing. That's debasing your currency. What does that cause? It causes inflation. What do you see here when a lot of America is not working? Inflation, because real things hold their value. And when the underlying currency becomes worth less, those things consequently inflate in value. Is that what's happening? Maybe. How long will it go up? Who knows? Just look back at the Weimar Republic and see how much things cost. as the currency gets more and more debased. So for those of you who are saying, I just don't know how high it can go, it can keep going as long as they keep printing money and as long as the rest of the world keeps taking it. So we had that weekly vertical crossover occur. We're looking at the derivative oscillator still just barely negative. We go to the 2-day chart. What do we see there? Again, that 2-day chart just jamming up. In fact, first day of this latest 2-day candle is the biggest candle yet. Or I guess it's similar to those first 3 that took off, or the big 2 after the 2-day crossover, and then that next 2-day candle. So again, just shooting up. Derivative oscillators flattening though. That's interesting to see. We look at the half day, and again, we can see where things popped up. Lots of exuberance in the morning. Burned a little bit of that off in the afternoon. Still positive. Price percent oscillator flat. Derivative oscillator losing some momentum at the end of the day. Wow. Now, that was the S&P up 0.35. The Nasdaq up a measly 0.10%, 1/10 of 1%. After a big week up, weekly vertical crossover did sustain itself on Friday. However, check out the derivative oscillator. It's still a bit negative. Now, you know we like the derivative oscillator, which is our leading indicator, and the price percent oscillator, our lagging indicator, to cross over at the same time. Doesn't always happen, doesn't always portend, not a good move, but it's just another little check box that we can either check or not. We can't do that. We look at the 2-day, and again, we can see things just flying up. In fact, this latest 2-day candle starting off even higher than the trend line. That's good to see. Price percent oscillator heading up. Derivative oscillator just maybe a little bit more than flat. That's on the 2-day. We look at the half day. Again, like the S&P popping up in the morning, burning some of that off in the afternoon. Price percent oscillator flat. Derivative oscillator losing momentum for the first time in several days. Price well above that half-day trend line. That's where we are with those 2 weekly vertical crossovers in our 2 stock indexes. Let's go to 20-year bonds. Booming, 1.50%. Was there a crossover? No. If you look on the left-hand side of the screen below the horizontal gray bar, you will see PPO and exponential moving average 8 period laminated. So that didn't happen. Do have a nice big green up candle. Derivative oscillator still negative. Go to the 2-day. You can see where the price percent oscillator is spiking up. Derivative oscillator heading up. First day of this latest 2-day candle. Nice big green candle. But again, don't have a crossover on the weekly. May happen over the course of this next week. Don't get greedy. Wait for it to show itself, if indeed it does that. Now, what's up on the half day? Well, with all the movement on Friday, after this sideways slide and some dropping, it did pop up and cross over going up. So that is where we are on bonds. Still waiting to see if perhaps by the end of next week, there will be a weekly vertical crossover. Mark that in your show notes. I hope you're all filling out your weekly market worksheets. Where do you get those? Well, you get them in your show notes every day. If you're not a subscriber, go to chartingwealth.com, sign up for free. You'll get the email every day with this training, with this in it, either the daily or the weekly review, plus you will get a special training. Today's training is a particularly good one. It is what is the name of this one? Back away to see what's really happening. We talk about doing that every Wednesday, sitting back, going to your weekly chart, and just dropping all the minutia out of your mind and filling yourself up where the chart is telling you it's moving on the weekly chart. On all of the ones that you are reviewing, your favorite stocks, the ETFs, we review the cryptocurrencies you're interested in, whatever it might be. Again, once a week, stepping back, backing away to see what's really happening. Doing that on a Wednesday is a great exercise. Now, let's leave bonds, go to gold. Gold booming. As I said earlier, up 1.31%, hitting a new high over the course of the past week. That's just what it was up on Friday. Over the course of the week, though, a new most recent high. Now again, we can go back further to September, but I'm talking about, after this crossover occurred, again, saved itself toward the end of the week. Price percent oscillator spiking, derivative oscillator spiking up 2-day. You can see where things had sort of over the course. I mean, we saw on Monday the 25th on the 2-day as it popped up from that Friday and Monday, and then just sort of started devolving, and then boom, this latest first day of this 2-day candle spiking up. Price percent oscillator and derivative oscillator heading up. We go to the half day, and again, quite beautiful. I'm going to redraw this half-day trend line. This is what I love so much about TC2000. Those of you who, when you're ready to get serious, spend a few bucks a month, get TC2000. It's the paid version of freestockcharts.com. And the beautiful thing about it is that no matter where you go, where you travel, there's a web-based version. There's a version for Mac. There's a version for Windows. I use the web-based version, so no matter where I go, I can just put in my code and boom, here are my charts exactly as I am used to them. And there is a discount code. If you follow a link in the show notes, you can support us a little bit and save yourself $25. Think about it. And the beautiful thing is too, they have their own brokerage so that once you start trading for real, you can actually trade directly from the screen. They also have paper trading when you subscribe. So it's beautiful all the way around. Now, we see on this half-day chart, gold just spiking up over the last 2 days. That's beautiful to see. Price percent oscillator, derivative oscillator heading up. It's nice. I'm ready for gold to just keep on going and go higher than it did with this last weekly vertical crossover. That was only 171.55. And again, like we said, it spiked up to a 169.94, so it's not too far away. We'll see where it goes. Lastly, we go to Bitcoin. Bitcoin, what is it doing? Down for the day, 0.59%. Now, very interesting what we see happening. Bitcoin, of course, topped most recently on the week ending the 22nd of October. It has been slowing down over the course of this next week. Derivative oscillator still moving up a little. Price percent oscillator, you can just see it flattening. Check out the 2-day. 2-day is trying its best to cross over going down. It's penetrated the 2-day trend line. It's trying to penetrate and move through the weekly trend line. And very importantly, you can see that it's trying to cross over going down. Keep an eye on what happens on Bitcoin on Monday when this candle finishes drawing. It may pull you out of Bitcoin and save you from a big downturn in Bitcoin over the next few days or weeks after you jumped in and rode this puppy up so beautifully. So keep your eye on things. You may have already cashed out on your practice trade. Remember, not a stock calling service. We're an education firm. Want you to practice trade with us. If you're interested in learning cryptocurrencies, then you have to track them and you have to practice trade them. You can follow things like Ethereum. You've got Bitcoin Grayscale Trust, Bitcoin Fund. And again, I don't know anything about these. I started tracking Bitcoin because you guys asked me if what we did worked. And I said, I'll look and see. And if it is trackable, I'll let you know. And we followed it for many, many months, and it is. So give it a shot. God bless, my friends. All the best. Hey, thank you for all the new members that we have had at the Patreon page. I so appreciate that. I hope you guys made a lot of use of those 20 weekly vertical crossovers that we gave you on Thursday for potential practice trading today. Once you get ready to get serious, lots of serious training for you at the Patreon support. Starts as little as $30 a month. That's $1 a day to support our hard work here, and we make it very much worth your while. We just had at the beginning of the month our live question and answer call-in session. That is just one of the many benefits, along with the big seller, which is, of course, our 20 weekly vertical crossovers every week to always give you something to be practicing. That's where we are, folks. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.